Welcome, Padawans. Thank you all for joining me here today. As you all know, my name is Master K, and I will be your instructor today while we go over the different forms of Jedi combat. Now, I understand that you are all very close to graduating from here at the Jedi Temple, which is all very exciting. And after you graduate, you will start to work towards your Jedi trials and continue your training away from the temple on your own, in your own styles. It's always sad to see the Padawans leave the temple, but I'm also very proud of you, and I do believe that you all have such bright futures as Jedi Masters. So, as we know, after we leave the Jedi Temple, we are still training. Our trainings and our lessons, they go on for our whole lives. And something that we do continue to work on and practice is our combat. And as you all know, there are 7 forms of Jedi combat. You will need to choose which one you'd like to hone over the years and master. This is about finding what form suits you best, right? And also, because I know you are all leaving soon, I'd like to leave you with a bit of wisdom from myself that I'd like you to carry with you wherever you go. And that is the importance of the high ground. And I'll get into that at the end of our lessons here. Okay? So, shall we get started? Okay. I recognize many faces here, but I do believe we're missing Anakin. Anakin, are you here? No. Okay. Well, that's okay. He can catch up later. All right. Let's get started. So, I have no doubt that all of you believe you know something about the 7 forms of combat. Okay? All of you have spent your early years practicing Form 1. And most of you have spent additional years studying each additional individual form up through Form 5. Okay? So I know that you all have a basic understanding of all the forms, but please allow me to provide brief descriptions to reintroduce you to these forms. Okay? Some of you may be undecided about whether to dedicate yourself to one particular form, or some of you may want to build your own fighting style, which is definitely something that you can do. I do recommend picking one form though and building off of that first, and then you can experiment with creating your own form. But no matter how much you've studied, you still have much to learn. And that is something that you need to remember for a lifetime. No matter what, you could always study more. You could always improve yourself. You can always surpass your limits, right? And as you know, each form represents a different style and a different philosophy. Okay, so all of these styles have a certain philosophy to them. It's not just a form or a type of movement. It's a philosophy. Okay? Each of it has its merits, and that's why we're going over it, so that you can, to help you decide which one to choose. So, Form 1, Shi-Jo. 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 This requires little explanation, as every Jedi youngling, of course, learns the basics of Shi-Jo through their formative years, the basics of attack, parry, body target zones, different practice drills such as velocities, etc. We all learn these. This was actually created by the ancient Jedi, who still used swords as they were transitioning from swords to light beam sabers. So this was the first fighting style formed, and it was based off of sword combat, right? The principles of blade contact remain essentially the same. Okay? It's very important to master Shi-Jo before you move on to the other forms, because having a solid foundation of basic attack, parry, body target zones, all of that, will help you to master the further forms. Without a solid foundation, you cannot move forward. So Shi-Jo should definitely be something that you continue to work on, because these are the basics. Though unfortunately, because Shi-Jo was developed in an era where the ancient Jedi did not have enemies with lightsabers, there is no standard for saber-to-saber combat using Shi-Jo. So of course, you will, no matter what, need to move on from Shi-Jo. Now, after we master or have a very solid understanding of Shi-Jo, we move on to our second form. Okay? Makashi. 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 Now, this represents the ultimate refinement of lightsaber to lightsaber combat, and that is making up for, of course, the element missing from Shi-Jo. Masters of this form develop unique offenses and defenses and train studiously against having their weapon taken from them or damaged in some way. Okay? Very studiously. This evolved in an era where fighting between Jedi and Dark Jedi had become expected, if not routine. So there was often a lot of lightsaber to lightsaber combat at this time. Because of this time produced the greatest dueling masters that the galaxy has ever seen, perhaps to this day. Makashi was very useful at that time, right? But we move past this. Dark Jedi do not exist in this time. It is rare to fight against others who have a lightsaber. As a Jedi Master or as a Jedi Knight, you will most likely find yourself battling against others with different weapons. Because of this, Makashi is not taught very often. Some see little need to teach this form because of the rarity of it. So many find it to be impractical. Yeah? But myself, as well as many others, do believe that it is essential as long as the rule of two still exists. Okay? Question? Okay. The rule of two. Yes. That is pertaining to the Sith and their apprentice. Has a Sith resurfaced? Now, young Padawan, all of you, whether or not a Sith has resurfaced, that is not something that you should worry about. That is not something that concerns all of you. And those sorts of things need to be left to the Jedi Council, right? Okay, so we should not be thinking of such things. We need to be thinking of our progress, right? Okay. Moving on. Okay. After this, the forms have advanced with technology, and that is something that this form really encapsulates here. So form 3 is Sorsu. 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 Okay? This was first developed in response to the advancement of blaster technology in the galaxy. This form maximizes the defense protection in a style characterized by tight, efficient movements that expose minimal target body areas when compared with the relatively more open styles of the other forms. So this is a highly defensive form. Okay. And in fact, true masters of Form 3 have long to have been thought to be invincible. Exactly. If you are a true master of Form 3, this highly defensive skill, you will not let any damage affect you because of the tight movements. In fact, there has been no known master of Form 3 to have been defeated. Yes, in the history of the galaxy, right? We actually have a master of Form 3 in the council as we speak. Does anyone know who that could be? Yeah? Close. Close. Okay. No. Correct. Master Kenobi. Master Obi-Wan Kenobi is the current master of Sorsu. He is someone that I would not pick a fight with. Absolutely. Now, many of you may think, what is the point of Sorsu if it is purely defensive? Well, I may ask you, what is the point of a Jedi Knight? To maintain peace in the galaxy. And overall, we would like to maintain it through diplomatic means. So conflict resolution without resorting to violence is the standard for the Jedi, right? Violence, that is the last resort. So, I'd like you to pick up your lightsabers, your training sabers, and I'd like to see your basic positions in your defense forms. So can you start with the high defense form for me? Okay. Your arms should be all the way up. Okay. Good. Make sure that your feet are a little bit wider, shoulder length or more. Okay. Very good. All right. And make sure your feet are pointing this way. and that your hips are pointing towards me, right? Good. Very good. Perfect. A little bit higher, though. Just a little bit higher. All right. Good, 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 good. Now show me the moderate stance for the defensive position. Okay. All right. Bring the saber up a little bit more. Good. Okay, your form is perfect. I don't believe there's anything that you need to change about this one here. Yep, everything seems to be the correct position there. Very good, very good. I've seen you've been practicing. All right. Make sure that you don't go too low in that position, because then you could find yourself losing your foothold. Okay? All right. Now, the low position of the defense form. Okay? That seems a bit low. Is that, but it depends. Is that natural for you? Do you feel like you're straining in any way? That feels right for you? Good. Okay. All right. It looks good, but you feel tense. All of these movements need to be very fluid in nature. We need to be able to fluidly move from the moderate stance to the low stance to the high stance in any situation, as well as to fluidly move from any form to a defense form to an attack form. Being tense does not help that, so I'm going to need you to take a deep breath for me. Good. Now, loosen up. Breathe in and out. Good. Everything is fluid, right? Fluid movements. We are at peace, right? Good. Very good. Good job, Padawan. Okay. Make sure that your shoulders aren't hunched as you are holding your saber lower. And then we have our shoulders back. Good. Okay. So allow me to demonstrate one of the reasons why I mentioned that we go to our defense positions. So, like in position, our moderate position, we are here. See how open I am? I am ready to defend farther away, but with Sorsu, I am here. I am able to move quickly, right? And defend any body target zone with a quickness because of these tight, efficient movements. And the efficiency comes with time, it comes with practice. It is not something that comes easily. So I just wanted to show you the difference between regular defensive stances and Sorsu. Okay, let's move on. This next one is Ataru. Ataru. Okay, Ataru. Right? So this is the most acrobatic form of all the combat styles. It is filled with numerous acrobatic moves that relies heavily upon the Jedi's ability to run, jump, and spin using the Force. And that is the key phrase there, using the Force. Okay? By incorporating all the Force powers that enable one to exceed standard norms of physical possibilities, Jedi resemble nothing less than a blur when utilizing this form. This is truly one of the most graceful, beautiful forms to watch. Does anyone know the current master of Ataru in the Jedi Council? Anyone? Well, it is a bit of a trick question, because you know this master for their wisdom and not necessarily their combat style, but they are one of the fiercest lightsaber duelers in the galaxy. It is Master Yoda. Yes, Master Yoda. And I know many of you may be confused by that because you've only seen him walking around with a cane. It seems as though he has a hard time walking. He appears to be very old. But the thing is, he uses the Force to reinforce his movements, to jump, spin, and use those acrobatic moves, right? He uses the Force to surpass physical norms. So he is able to jump faster than a blur because of his connection with the Force. And that really goes to show that so much is possible when you use the Force, right? So the more we hone our skills, the more we could do what we thought was never possible, right? So does any of you think that they'll be using this form? You'd like to? Yeah? Well, a lot of practice coming your way. All right. Now, as I said, combat forms are philosophies. They are not certain stances. They are ways of combat. So Form 5 has 2 variations, okay? But they're very similar in certain ways. So the first form is Xian, Xian, Xian. The Xian variation exploits the ability of the lightsaber to block a blaster bolt. It turns this defensive move into an offensive attack by deflecting the bolt and deliberately sending it towards the opponent. In a time such as now, when Jedi are often called to maintain peace, the defensive moves of Sorsu were deemed to be insufficient, unfortunately. There are times when we cannot be solely defensive in our combat style. Because of this, we need to work upon Sorsu and use other methods when necessary. So, Form 5 focuses on strength and attack moves. Strength and attack moves, okay? The second variation of Form 5 is Diemso. 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 The Diemso variation is dedicated specifically to lightsaber dueling. Specifically to lightsaber dueling, okay? A dedication to the power and strength necessary to defeat an opponent is what characterizes Form 5, right? This form has another... Wait. There's a saying for this philosophy, and it is peace through superior firepower. Peace through superior firepower. Because in the end, as a Jedi Knight, our goal is always peace. And unfortunately, if they do not want to talk it out and make changes in a more peaceful way, we have to force the peace. Okay, unfortunately. Many say that Form 5 will prepare you for any situation, which is good. Though some believe that Form 5 fosters an inappropriate focus on dominating others, right? So we don't want to study too much into Form 5 and, and we end up liking the power a bit too much, and then we lose our way. So we need to be careful when studying Form 5 because it does use some emotion there, right? So we want to use it with a balance, with another more defensive or standard form. Okay? Okay. Now up until this point, you all have known a bit about those forms already. You've already learned a bit about it. You have studied some of these for years, right? So these next two forms, I do not recommend jumping into right away after you graduate. These forms are meant for more seasoned Jedi Knights, and you will see why. So Form 6 is Niman. 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 Okay? This is the current standard in lightsaber training, okay? Because it balances the emphases of the other forms with overall moderation. So like I said earlier, we can't just jump all the way into Form 5. We need to have a balance of perhaps Form 3. And with that, we have an overall moderation. We take the parts from the other forms that are useful and we put them all together, and that is Niman. Though through Form 6, a Jedi can achieve true harmony and justice without resorting to the rule of power. Okay, using all of these forms, we can find a way to find peace in some of these situations without resorting to violence. Okay, and that comes with balance. It's often described as the diplomat's form because it best suits the role of the contemporary knight. Right? Contemporary knight. I myself am mastering this form. Does anyone know how long it takes to master Niman? Any guesses? Okay. If you spend your time dedicated to just mastering Niman, it will take at least 10 years, right? Because we're pulling from all the other forms. We need to master bits and pieces of every form in order to truly achieve Niman, right? But it is the most useful in my opinion as a contemporary knight. Okay? Because we work for the Republic, we work for democracy. These are the types of forms that I recommend. We aren't battling Jedi or Sith at any point. So this last form, Form 7, again, I'm letting you know what it is for educational purposes. This is not a form that you will jump into after graduation. Form 7 is Juyo. 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 Okay? Only high-level masters of multiple forms can achieve and apply this discipline. Form 7 employs bold, direct movements that are more open and kinetic than Form 5, but not so elaborate as the acrobatic form of Form 4. Unlike Form 5, Form 7 requires greater energy because the focus is wielded more broadly and it draws upon a deeper well of emotion, which makes it, again, a lot harder to master because it requires a more disciplined mastery of your emotions, right? While the outward bearing of a Form 7 practitioner is one of calm. The inner verges on explosion. Okay? Unlike the graceful, linked movements of the other forms, Form 7 tactics overwhelm opponents with seemingly unconnected staccato movements. This makes it very unpredictable in battle. It's seemingly unconnected with its sequences, but it is still very unpredictable, and it's, again, easily to overpower others because they cannot predict your movements. Though, to carefully and skillfully execute this form, it requires a careful balance of emotions. Only the most skilled of the Jedi Masters can use this form for this reason, because we don't want to accidentally make our way to the dark side. Now, there is a current master of this form, a subset of this form, in the Jedi Council as we speak. Does anyone know who this is? Anyone? The current master of a subset of Juyo is Master Windu. Master Mace Windu, right? He is currently one of the fiercest Jedi in dueling to have ever existed in history. And I don't say that lightly. Right? Another master that you do not want to cross with, right? So, now that I have shown you all the very basics of all the forms, I would love it if you would consider which form you would like to practice after you graduate. Before we leave here today, I would like to share some wisdom with you, as I had mentioned in the beginning, about the importance of the high ground. Now, many would say, of course, the importance of the high ground is the high vantage point. It uses less energy to jump down as opposed to up. And that is the very basic definition of having the high ground. But when it comes to being a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master, the high ground is truly inside, right? We have the moral high ground compared to our enemies. Make sure that you always maintain the moral high ground when you are fighting, and you do not stoop to their level, right? Maintain your emotions. Keep the balance of peace inside of you. Because if you are to stray, you will be defeated through selfishness, through anger. Maybe you are full of yourself and you think you're more likely to make mistakes when you are angry. Right? So maintain the moral high ground, because good always wins over evil in the end. Okay? And I'd love it if you could all take that with you after you leave the Jedi Temple. I will miss you all, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be your teacher over these years. And as I said before, I see all of you with fantastic, long futures. I see masters in all of you, and I see inner peace and good And I cannot wait to watch you all grow and evolve. Okay. You are all dismissed, and you may continue on with your day. Thank you for joining me.